Over 1,000 years ago, great changes are underway in Northern Europe. New kingdoms are emerging, and Christianity gains acceptance. But it is not only men who are pushing things forward. In the sagas, which are stories about the Vikings, women too, with cunning and courage, fight for a better life. The latest research provides an even more precise picture of daily life in the Viking Age and of women who assert themselves in a man's world.
This is the end. My home is gone. I, Jova, escaped and survived. This is my story.
Haithabu is one of the most important trading places of the Viking Age. A settlement in the north of Germany, formerly under control of Danish kings. This is where the best craftsmen and the most important merchants live, like the fur trader, Ottar.
Ottar was a pig and he owned me.
Give me some more meat, and my cup is almost empty again.
Yes, right away, Ottar. In addition to doing the work around the house, I would also sew mittens, hoping to earn some silver that would allow me to one day buy my freedom from him. I would like to go to the market, Master Ottar.
Do you know why I will permit it? Because I know how many of your mittens you'll have to sell before you have enough silver to buy your freedom.
I can count to 10. And I will get those 10 silver pieces.
What a feisty little thing. I should be glad to get rid of you. If I don't make you my wife.
You're too fat for me.
Do you want me to resell you?
You can't do that to her.
Slavery is the absolute bedrock of Viking society. So all the basic work on the farms, in the household, is done by slaves. And these slaves are sometimes people that are captured abroad or in other parts of Scandinavia on raids. Sometimes they are the children of existing slaves.
This is the thanks I get for feeding you for 18 years, you brat?
May I go now?
Let her go, Master Ottar. I will stay with you.
I have to finish some business, so go along with her. And if they offer you a good price, go ahead and sell her too.
Are you coming, Tira?
Yes.
The trading center of Haithabu has left many traces behind. Today, it is close to the Gottorp Castle of Schleswig, in which all findings are kept and examined.
The archaeological excavations that were conducted there for more than 100 years brought to light sensational findings that tell us how trade currents came together here at the Schleswig Neck. There are trade currents from the North Sea region, and the Frankish Empire. There are trade currents coming from Norway. It's slate and talc that are traded in Haithabu. There are trade currents coming from the east. Valuable goods come from Byzantium and from the western end of the Silk Road, and they all come together here because the goods can be so well distributed by means of the large logistics systems reaching as far as the north of the Baltic Seas via Scandinavia and the continent.
Archaeological finds prove that around 1,000 years ago, silver coins and silver jewelry are increasingly placed into circulation. In Haithabu, people engage in barter trade. Coin money from all over the world becomes a means of payment, especially silver, in any form.
One of the things that seems to have stimulated the Viking Age is the arrival of a lot of Arab silver, which then could be melted down, and a lot of Viking silver objects are probably melted down from coins, but we still have a lot of coins as well. They weren't the first to trade. Everyone was trading. I think it was a great age of trading, and what the Vikings are particularly good at is picking up on what's happening at any particular moment and doing it even better than everyone else was doing it.
Haithabu benefits from its safe harbor on the Schlei River. The soldiers of the Danish king keep order here.
Buy mittens and keep your hands warm. Gloves for cold nights. Would you like to take a look at them? Only the finest of handiwork, not like the English trash. It's a bargain at a mere tenth of a silver coin.
Let me see this. How do I look, your lordship?
Like a complete idiot, my lord.
So, are you going to buy them?
Pay for these drags? What for?
Don't make a scene.
Wait!
Don't you dare touch
Calm
me!
down! This isn't right.
What were you thinking getting into a brawl with the king's soldiers? Jova, let
But
it
I
go!
need the money.
Hey, you. Hold on there. What do you want? It's no big deal.
Let's get out of here.
Here's your mitten. You're here almost every week. I've seen you around.
So why haven't you bought anything?
And one of the things that you see happening during the Viking Age, it's one of the things that makes the Viking Age different from what came before, is that you have the rise of kings, of kingship, and the growth of kingdoms around them.
The Haithabu region is particularly important for the Danish king. Archaeologists found the remains of a giant rampart that was established at this junction of trade routes.
This is a wall from the Viking Age. We don't yet know its exact date, but we think it dates back to the 8th century.
The archaeologists believe that ancestors of the Danish kings built an earth wall as early as the 5th century AD, rulers whose names we no longer know today. In the Viking Age, this wall was extended with stones.
People definitely also wanted to impress. We simply have to bear in mind that nothing in this area was built of stone. The people lived in ordinary wooden houses, so this stone defense wall must have been a truly impressive structure, especially for the people living at that time. A structure that could also be used to emphasize one's own power and importance.
The Danevirke is 30 kilometers long and serves to defend the area between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. At the same time, it is the border wall between the land of the Danes and the rest of Europe. When traveling by land, you had to pass through the gate controlled by the Vikings. At the eastern end of the Danevirke is Haithabu, the hub for international trade.
New wares have arrived! Irish workers, strong men, hard-working women.
Look, Irish slaves. We've got it easy compared to these poor souls.
Still, I'm not free. Not yet.
A great part, maybe the most important source of income for these raiding Vikings, was the slave trade. What they craved was silver, so they simply took slaves. For example, they traveled to Ireland, devastated a village, and took the people as hostages. Then they waited until the hostages were redeemed, and they would get silver for them. And if they weren't redeemed, they could sell them.
The slaves are like cattle, completely at the mercy of their owners. But how does this rune stone fit in with this? Close to Stockholm, a slave named Tollier recalls a Swedish king who died. The rune stone settles the estate, for, as you can read here, Tollier married the Queen Gula. Written by Tollier, the king's slave in Roden.
I also think it's fairly remarkable the way you could travel up the social pyramid in the Viking Age. And this might happen if a young man was accepted by a chief or a king as a member of his entourage. As a result of which, he would rise very high on the social pyramid. He was close to the king and moved in his circle.
But such destiny could also change completely, as we can see from this grave in the Danish town of Gidrup. Apparently a slave was buried together with his mistress here.
Altså det vi kan se I graven, det er at vedkommende har brækket halsen.
As we can see from the grave, the man broke his neck.
Er sket ved at han er blevet hængt.
Apparently he was hanged.
Fødderne på en måde de krydser ind over hinanden som
The feet are crossing over one another because they were tied together.
Man kan sige en
Obviously a violent death.
Som den her person har lidt og noget.
It can be assumed that it occurred shortly before the funeral.
Med gravlæggelsen umiddelbart forud for gravlæggelsen.
The woman was buried like a warrior with a spear. Apparently, a very powerful woman. The stones are lying on her because people feared that she would return as an undead. But they didn't fear the dead slave.
There's a folk belief, a popular belief, this everyday communication with the powers around you that influence your life that continues for a very long time after the nominal introduction of Christianity. So people are going to church and they're worshipping God and they're singing hymns and making their prayers. And then they're going home and putting a bit of butter on that stone outside the house for the elves. So we see this double world going on for a long time.
The Christian missionaries make sure that the old customs are forbidden. Even the magic women are to disappear.
Please, give alms to an old woman. Would you like to have your future read?
Come on. Soothsayers are not allowed in the city.
I thank you.
Tell me, please, will I be able to escape slavery?
I can see it. I see a ship filled with fur and silver. You stand at the bow, looking towards Haithabu.
Silver and furs?
You again? Are you causing trouble with your superstitious chatter?
Aren't you the girl with the mittens?
Leave her alone!
Hey! Are you starting trouble again? We might have to take you too.
Let her go! We are servants of Master Otar.
Otar, the fur trader. We had better not find you with this witch again. Come.
Please, please don't.
Come on.
May the trolls get you!
When we talk about it today, we talk of a process of Europeanization, of how Scandinavia adapts to the rest of Europe. That occurs during these centuries. Christianization is definitely the most radical change that has occurred in the North.
Some rulers build churches in the north, like here in Norway. Their roofs are decorated with dragon heads, like the ones at the bow of a Viking ship.
Of course, one of the reasons for becoming Christian is in order to interact with the rest of the Christian world. So in order to trade with Christians, Vikings had to make at least a preliminary commitment to Christianity. And some of them may have decided, oh yeah, well, I might as well go all the way and become Christian.
Master Otar, was I brought to Haithabu from Ireland?
What did you tell her?
Tira has told me nothing. I want to know where I come from.
I bought you at the market. That's all you need to know. I want to take a bath after Holy Mass. Let Jova prepare it.
I will get it ready.
Initially, the new and old religion coexist in Haithabu. A business-minded blacksmith has left this casting mold, which he can use to make either a cross for a Christian or a Thor's hammer for someone else.
To take the decision to become Christian is one thing. To live a fully Christian life with a full network of churches, priests, going to church on Sunday, baptism, marriage, funerals, it takes a long time to build that up, and I think all of that took quite a long time. It's been argued that in Iceland it took something like 300 years before the country was fully Christianized in that sense, in the organizational sense.
Christianization and increasing power of the Scandinavian kings go hand in hand. The Danish king Bluetooth was the first to be baptized. At the end of the 10th century, he wants to unite Denmark into one nation. Bluetooth changes the burial traditions. Up to now, princes and kings have themselves buried in graves surrounded by such stones. Symbolic ships made of erratic boulders surrounding the gravesite. King Bluetooth wants to pick up, surpass, and end it for his parents Gorm and Tura. Their graves are set up in Jelling in the midst of the Danish mainland.
We must think of it as the most fantastic place in Denmark. A giant fence, 360 by 360 meters, surrounds it, and Harald's structure faces towards the north. Here lies Gorm the Old, and outside, around the hill, the silhouette of a giant ship, 350 meters long. A number of houses inside the fence, and the two rune stones placed right in the middle. A fantastic place.
Up to the present time, the Danish kings come from this lineage. Bluetooth is the first who calls himself King of the Danes on a runestone, and who announces the change of religion. Denmark is to become Christian.
The great ship burial is the last twitch of the old religion. When Odin and Thor were still active, people thought that if someone was buried in a ship, the dead person underground could talk to Hel, queen of the underworld. And after the conversation, they'd sail to Valhalla, the Viking heaven. The large ship in Jelling is the last of the old heathen Viking boats used to take the dead from this world to Valhalla.
Bluetooth himself is laid to rest in a Christian church in Roskilde. Today you will find a church there, where all of his descendants to this day have been buried. In Odin's and Thor's time, a raven is a messenger of the gods, bringing good luck. The Christian priests demonize him and brand him as a harbinger of bad luck.
Here. There it is. This stone was erected by Gisla in memory of her husband Ragnar, who courageously journeyed to the east to find gold. He never returned.
What does that mean?
Gisla and Ragnar are your parents.
How would you know that?
Gisla was close to death when I joined Otar's household. She passed all of her wealth on to him. A casket filled with coins and an amulet. He had to promise her to manage the inheritance, and to take care of you until you were old enough.
So Utter lied to me all these years. I am free. So where is my father?
He went to the land of the Rus. They say that he was seriously wounded in battle, and after that he stayed on in Novgorod at the cloister.
But what about my inheritance?
You have to be able to prove that Ragnar is your father. That's the only chance you have.
Where is Novgorod?
I have no idea.
Why didn't you tell me? Do you actually love that fat pig? Tira, that thief!
Jova!
The independence of women results from their ability to manage their own property. And the key to this lies in the fact that Viking women were allowed to inherit property. That's an exceptional, if not unique, phenomenon during this time in Europe.
Northern Europe has seen powerful women who manage their inheritance. But as you can see from these wooden artifacts, women were also able to assert themselves in a male-dominated world in everyday life. These wooden sticks containing runic inscriptions were preserved in the slush at the harbor of the Norwegian city of Bergen.
We actually found 700 of these sticks. That's why we know that even some ordinary people were able to write. Many of the inscriptions on these sticks are in the form of what we would call text messages today. This is a very special piece, a hairpin used to keep your hair up. It reads, Ingebjorg loved me when I was in Stavanger. Did Ingebjorg carve these words into the hairpin to remind her beloved of her? We don't know, but we do know that he threw the hairpin away when he came back to Bergen. Maybe he didn't want to get caught with this hairpin in his bag when he went back home to his wife. There is a really funny inscription on this piece of wood. It reads, Gaida says you should go home. Well, that ignites your imagination, doesn't it? You can imagine Gaida's husband getting drunk in the inn, and now she thinks it's about time for him to come home. This may only be an interpretation, but there is evidence to support it. If you turn this piece around, you can see something written on it in a different style of handwriting, under someone else's direction, as it were. There's something unreadable scribbled on it, runes that make no sense. So maybe Gaida's husband doesn't want to go home just now and wants her to stop interfering, but never mind.
That should be enough. Tira,
if you take this casket with you, you'll be hunted by the king's soldiers.
I am only taking what is mine.
Where will you go?
I want to get to Novgorod to look for my father. He will help me to reclaim my property.
May the gods be with you.
Come with me.
I know where I belong.
I know we'll see each other again.
Take care of yourself.
I promise I will.
Quiet.
Yes.
Could you give me a hand? This is rather heavy.
Yeah, of course.
Are you heading out to Novgorod?
Yeah, this afternoon.
Are you still taking passengers?
If they can pay.
Yeah, I have money.
Women are not allowed on board this boat.
Not allowed, but...
Watch out! Out of the way!
Viking society is dominated by men, but it gives women the opportunity, provided they have the charisma and the capacity for it, to act as autonomous individuals.
It's a world full of contradictions. Rich women have their own ships. Ordinary women don't travel without male accompaniment. The warriors are male, but they seek female support, as these picture stones from Goatland suggest.
You should bear in mind that the picture stones were originally painted in colors. We may even assume that it was the colorful painting that actually made the artwork. What we've got here is a kind of sketch, a faint idea, if you like, of what the artist originally wanted to show.
The stones depict warriors returned from battle, who are greeted by women in the afterlife holding drinking horns. They are called the Valkyries.
There is absolutely clear evidence in the myths of the Vikings that a lot of the supernatural beings associated with war are female.
A 3D analysis of the old picture stones shows that not only male warriors were received by these Valkyries.
The stone found in Grotlingbo also depicts a scene of welcome. A Valkyrie holding a drinking horn welcomes a deceased person. But it's not a man, a dead warrior sitting on his battle horse, but a woman traveling in a wagon to the afterlife.
Were there really any women warriors in the Viking Age? Women who went into battle with men? We have a text in Arabic that suggests it.
In the 10th century, there's a record of a battle between the Byzantines and Vikings. The Vikings lose, and there is a kind of army chronicler, a sort of journalist embedded with the Byzantine forces, who is writing about the battle and what they see and so on. And when the Byzantine warriors are going over the battlefield afterwards and they're taking the weapons of the dead and so on, this chronicler writes how among the Viking dead they find women in armor with weapons.
Many warriors took small Valkyrie figurines with them to bring them luck. Were these what the chronicler meant? Or did he intend to depict the Vikings as especially savage opponents? In the male-dominated society, women had career opportunities. But it isn't likely that they went into battle.
How hard could it be to find a girl with a casket? She has to be around here somewhere. Find her already. I want my money back.
You won't get far like this. They're looking for a girl with a casket. Lose it.
Good.
Bjorn, did you see the girl?
Hmm? Why are you hanging around the harbor? Are you crazy?
I want to get to Novgorod to look for my father.
Certainly can't stay here in Haithabu. What do we have here? Otter's little wench.
Hey, Bjorn, are you protecting this lying little thief? Did she promise you her virginity?
I was the one who found her. The reward is mine. No. We'll share like brothers, like in the Bible. Here, put this on.
What?
You will be able to take the journey as clergy.
Why are you doing this?
Get moving. Hurry already.
All right.
Hey! Do you still have space to take a monk to Novgorod?
Sure, if you have 2 pieces of silver.
He's but a poor Christian man.
I've never seen a poor man of the cloth before. 2 pieces of silver. Over here, you idiot.
Here, that's all there is.
Are you serious? Christians are even more tight-fisted than I am. Fine, on board with them.
Archaeological finds allow us to reconstruct the trading routes of the Viking Age. Trade flourished only in the summer, when it was a good time to sail ships.
Their map is pretty big. That doesn't mean that they started at one end and went all the way to the other end. They kind of stopped along the way. In the east, they went down the various river systems through what is now Russia, as far as the Mediterranean. We know that for certain, and that was mainly trading activity. There was also some settlement and raiding. In the west, of course, the nearest places, the British Isles and the northern part of the European continent, there was trading, raiding, settlement. That was an obvious place. I think they started there, really. Those are the closest areas. And then in the far west, they went across to the Faroes, Iceland, Greenland, and North America.
Even before the actual start of the Viking Age, people in Norway began to quarry what at the time was a very desirable everyday item: millstones for grinding grain. Even now, you can see the traces of a gigantic stone quarry that supplied the whole of Europe for 500 years.
This is a fastening hole that was used to secure the ships so that they could load the millstones onto them for further transportation to the trading places. This is Hillstad Harbor. This is where the ships arrived and where the millstones were heaved up onto the ships. At the sea, the mountain could be accessed more easily. It was easier to start out there because they could see that the stones were good quality. First they drew a circle, then they cut into the mountain until the millstone was the right size. Then they started to make holes underneath the stone to loosen it from the mountain. All stones here were cut right out of the mountain.
You can find millstones in the entire area of the North and Baltic Sea, the freight of sunken ships. There are thousands of stones lying on the seabed.
Here. 500 millstones were found here, a ship that sank off the coast of Bergen. Nothing remains of this millstone transporter except for these stones. The cargo weighed around 13 tons, but people were able to transport heavy cargoes like these as early as in the Viking Age. To grind the grains are placed into the eye of the millstone, and then you have to turn it. This was done by women every day. It's a bit hard before you've come up to speed. After that, it's easy. In the Viking Age, this used to be a household item. Each household would have its own mill.
The sagas describe women who escape this daily life. Dressing up like a man is a ruse that turns up in several stories.
It looks like I'm in luck. I can always use some spiritual guidance. Staying in Novgorod, or are you moving on? Have you lost your ability to speak? What congregation do you belong to? Goodness, what have I ever done to you? A woman?
What?
That's a woman!
That's a woman!
What's a woman doing?
It's you again! Didn't I tell you that women are not allowed on board?
I pay just like everyone else.
You tricked me. But if you pay me 2 pieces of silver, I'll pretend to look the other way.
You can't do that. Leave her alone. She paid, so she doesn't owe you anything.
None of your business.
Yes, right.
You were lucky this time.
I actually made it. I was in the land of Rus, the legendary Novgorod.
Today, the old Viking fortress has completely disappeared. For a time, there was a monastery here, but today only the ruins are left. 1,000 years ago, Novgorod was one of the most important trade hubs.
The Vikings reached Lake Ilmen from the north, the first hill on their way which they considered safe and suitable for habitation was the one here on which the Rurik settlement was founded. It was a place where the old trading routes had crossed, and they had a kind of customs house. That's what the findings suggest, and a large place where all of these affairs could be regulated.
Rurik is considered to be the ancestor of the later Tsars, and this is why today a memorial stone commemorates the founding of Russia at this place by a group of Vikings. Rus is a word meaning rowers. Later chroniclers wrote down this story.
Rurik, with his entourage, his family, and his court, means that the Scandinavians did not come alone but were accompanied by their wives and children. And in fact, this is what the findings suggest, that there were Scandinavian women here as well as men.
At first, there are only about 200 people living here, creating a bustling trading post at the foot of this hill.
What is this?
If Christians want to stay here, they have to pay double.
Hey, Vigdis, where's
Shut
my
your
beer?
trap, Olnofer, all right? Why are you here? Hey. A girl.
Let go of me.
Ooh, lovely. I'm sure you'd want her to work for you. You'd like that, because Vigdis is already a little rotten. Old mare. But she's still in fine form.
Bastard! All right. Why are you here?
I'm looking for my father, Ragnar of Haitabu. I think he lives here in a cloister.
Do you have any idea how many cloisters there are around here?
I will find him.
You're a girl. You're on your own. Hey, why not serve here, at my bar?
She's doing good.
Of course.
Hey! Hands off!
Jova, what is this? Take care of the guests.
Christianization and the growing power of the rulers go hand in hand in the East too. In Novgorod, a Viking woman is still commemorated as the first woman of the Rus dynasty who had herself baptized. Saint Olga is the patron saint of Russia, and in the 10th century, the first strong woman on the Tsar's throne.
In ancient times, monasteries formed the first protective wall of the city. It was a bastion surrounding it. In the Middle Ages, the city of Novgorod was surrounded by up to 150 monasteries.
Ragnar? I don't know him.
Ragnar? No.
Ragnar, you say? Are you talking about Brother Yaroslav?
From Haitabu?
I believe so. What do you want with him?
I'll tell him myself.
Women are not allowed to enter here.
I've been searching a long time, man of God. I'm not gonna stop when I'm right at the doorstep.
Very well. We'll make an exception. Follow me. Brother Yaroslav, this, girl insists on talking to you.
I'm not expecting visitors.
You are Ragnar.
Gisla's amulet.
We won't tolerate idols. Get out of here.
You're the mirror image of your mother. What is your name?
Jova. Mother's been dead a long time.
What are you doing here?
I'd like to start trading here, as soon as I've gathered enough silver.
I own nothing if that's why you came.
But you can read.
Yeah?
Then you can help.
You want to do trading?
There are graves of women in Russia with scales in them, and scales are normally used for weighing out silver when you're buying something or selling it. What we don't know is whether these women were buried with scales because they traded on their own, because that was their profession, or whether that's just another part of their daily life.
Do you like these skins? For 50 silver mark, you'll get 30 marten skins, 50 mink skins, 20 beaver skins, and 10% profit share on the next elk hunt.
10%? Last time you said 15.
Well, I would hate to do business with someone else. I can't do more than 10.
Very well. Fine, you won. We'll see each other at Holy Mass, Jova.
Well, yes, of course.
There's some suggestion that Christianity was attractive partly because the Virgin Mary offered a kind of role model, a very important figure in Christianity, particularly in the slightly later period for women. Also, the idea of consent in marriage that Christianity stressed, the idea that the woman must consent before a marriage could take place. But of course, there are many other aspects of Christianity that were less attractive to women, but they may not have known about those in the beginning.
Et ne nos inducas in tentationem, sed libera nos a malo. Quia tuum est regnum et potestas et gloria in secula. Amen.
Amen.
You're not coming to pray, are you?
We should journey to Haithabu. The merchants told me that the city might be sieged. I want to collect my inheritance from Ottar.
You don't have enough? Don't tell me you're undertaking this strenuous journey just for a little bit of money.
Father, there are good people there as well. I also want justice.
He is in charge of justice.
You have to come along, as evidence that I am your daughter. Please.
It will be difficult for me to return to that place.
God of the Christians and Thor, my red-bearded protector. Please hold all your hands over the lovely Tira. May she not suffer any harm. Amen.
After the full introduction of Christianity, it's clear that the position of women in society is changed, and I think pretty clearly for the worse. They are losing a lot of power in the home and in society. There's a formalization of the roles of the sexes, and in the Christian world of the late Viking Age and on into the Middle Ages, women are very definitely lower down on the social scale than men.
In 1066, Slavic ships travel the Baltic Sea and raid the trading center of Haithabu on the Schlei River.
I returned to Haithabu along with my father. It was just like the fortune teller predicted, on a ship with silver and furs. But we were too late.
The village does not recover from this raid, and the settlement is abandoned.
Jova! Jova! Jova!
Hey, you! Get away from there!
I want to buy one of the prisoners. This woman here.
And what if I don't want to sell this one?
Name your price.
Well, if she's that important to you, 20 silver marks.
Good.
On the other hand, now that I take a good look at her, I might not want to sell her. For 30 silver marks, you can take her with you.
There, take it.
Thank you.
That's fine. Come.
And Ottar?
Hey, that one, I'll take him too.
20 silver marks. Thank you. Looks like you're in luck.
I will never forget this, Jova.
The Viking Age, a period of raiding voyages and discoveries, is coming to an end. With the destruction of Haithabu, the largest Viking army of all time sets sail for England. The Norwegian Harold the Ruthless wants to conquer the British Isles.
There's a good story as the two kings are approaching each other, and the story goes that King Harold of Norway looked at the English king and said, he's quite small, but he stands well in his stirrups. So he obviously respected his opponent. Whereas the English king said, I'm only going to give as much land of England to Harold of Norway as as his length is. So i.e. he's going to give him a grave, and he did. And Harold the Hard Ruler was killed here.
The survivors retreat to the north. The Viking era has come to an end.
In essence, people were able to get onto their ships and sail out to sea without knowing what was hidden behind the horizon. So they reach the Faroe Islands, they reach Iceland, they make it to Iceland, and 500 years before Christopher Columbus, they reach North America. I think that's a cultural feat that has no equal anywhere in the world, even to this day.
Haithabu was destroyed. We had to leave for good. But it might have been for the best.
You still have room?
As you can see, the cart is full.
Over here, there's still some space.
Your kindness is starting to be suspicious.
This has nothing to do with kindness, Father.
Where are we going?
I can be a trader anywhere.
I'm glad we had you baptized. I believe that will come in handy for you.